Hello, everybody. My name is Scott Chacon. I'm the CEO of Git Butler. Today, I am doing a little fun episode. It doesn't have a whole lot to do with Git Butler, although there is a Git Butler sort of integration in there. If you haven't seen, there is this cool thing by OpenAI called the Codex Micro that is coming out. They're all sold out, and so you can't buy them, but it is this kind of cool thing that you can hit buttons and record your voice to run Codex, and it shows you what agents are running and what needs work and things like that. I thought it would be cool to play around with it. And so while you cannot buy these anymore because they're all out of stock, what you can do is you can go to the company that they partnered with, which is Work Louder, and you can buy Micro 2. So they're called a Creato Micro 2 instead of a Codex Micro. But it's the same hardware. I got it and I wanted to play around with it. And there are a couple of different problems. So this is going to be about sort of how I solved some of those problems. So if you want to see it, this is what it looks like here. Right. So I have a little Creator Micro. Software that comes with it looks like this. It is called Input. By default, currently, they do not actually have a way in the software that is publicly available for downloading this, the one where you can actually load on the Codex one. So you have to be in their beta. You have to go and ask them for the beta. The firmware that does ship with it, or I flashed it to a slightly newer one. You can see that here. I'm on 0.6, which you can get off the internet, but you can get into their beta and you can find this firmware and flash that and get the updated versions of this. It's not really fully supported right now. So you have to get into their beta thing. It should actually, by the time the video comes out, it might be the default that actually downloads. The problem was I couldn't do this. I couldn't actually get these little buttons to make different colors. If you look at input, it's kind of interesting. You can show it doing all sorts of stuff like rainbow. You can see sort of all the rainbow stuff going on here, or breath or whatever, and it kind of goes in and out, or this nice gradient or whatever, right? Like you can see it kind of going around the edge here. So you can control it, right? It is controllable. But what you can't do, you can also assign keys. So if I click on this key, send a K, right, or that type of thing. And there's all sorts of keys you can do here. What you cannot do, it turns out, is you can't individually address the colors. So I can't sort of turn this one green and this one blue and stuff like that. So it turns out you have to have a special OpenAI key mapping. So instead of K, it's OpenAI 6 or whatever, right? It's unknowable that that's kind of how you do that. So I had to do a lot of sort of research on that. But once you figure that out, I will share my other fun project, which is Micromanager. And the first thing that I did actually was I created a sort of debugging application. So let's see if I can find that. Okay, so here's my little debugging application. So I had Claude kind of look at this, try to play with it, try to figure out how to change the colors, and it couldn't quite figure it out until I just started kind of inspecting the wire, the HID wire. So you can see if I sort of choose a color here, let's say blue, and then send to a selected, you can see them all sort of change here, right? Or I can take some of them off, clear them, and you can see them sort of turn off. So you can control these, right? And that shows you kind of what goes over the wire here. So once I kind of figured out, you can also apply the underglow. You can see this kind of turn green in the back here, around this edge here. You can relatively easily sort of control all these, but you have to map them to these. So these key codes have to be KVOAI AG00 through AG12. Once they're mapped to that, then you can send them these codes, these sort of OITH status and OI RGB config. They'll accept that there. If they're set to any other key, they won't respond to those. So that was the learning. It took me a little while to do. But now that you know, you have the power. I use a terminal multiplexer called Herdr. And Herdr looks like this. And it has sort of the agents that you run down here. So I can switch sort of between my agents, right? There's two different views into one thing, right? So these are my terminals or my tabs, basically. And these are the ones that are actually running agents. So if I go in here on ticket and I create a new tab and I run another Claude instance, it's going to pop up sort of down here, right? And so what I wanted is to make this thing control that thing. And I did that through Micromanager. So if you go to s/micromanager on GitHub, you can see sort of all of the source code in here. Under the Swift, if you do, Swift run, it's going to launch something called Micromanager, and that's a little sort of plugin thing that runs as a bridge between Herder and this thing. And so it can see what is being communicated to it, and when you push buttons on it, it controls Herder. This is kind of specific to my workflow. If you want to build almost anything with this, you can just point your agent at Micromanager and say, "Hey, figure out how it does this in the Swift project because it knows how to communicate, right?" Or you can sort of launch this thing and look at the codes that are going back and forth. That's also a pretty easy way to do it. You can see here I have a whole bunch of agents sort of running, and let me actually get rid of one of these so it turns off the light, right? If I click on these, it'll go back and forth between all of my agents. And I can say, now you can see one of these is orange, right? So it's running. And when it needs some information from me, it'll turn red like that. And I can click on it and it needs something, right? So I can do that. And then I can go back to sort of what I was doing somewhere else. Add a web interface, boom, right? And then I can go to this one. I can go to this one. Let's see what's in Piper. Explain the project, right? And so you can see kind of which ones are running, which ones are done. So the blue is done, right? The yellow is running and the green ones are idle. And it flashes red and the whole background flashes red actually if it needs some information from me. So I can go and see kind of what's done, right? Oh, something else just finished. The other cool thing you can do is if it has done something, you can hit one of these buttons and it will show me the Git Butler status. So I can see that there's some commit on that. I can do it again to get rid of it. Let me add something. Okay, so that's going to run. This one needs some, yeah, go ahead and run that. And now I can come over here and say, yep, go, submit. See what's going on over here. Put that in auto mode, come back over here, put this one in auto mode too. So we stop this. Whatever one I'm on, if I hit this button, it's going to show me the Git Butler sort of output for this. And if I hit the button next to it, that will switch tabs within that particular pane, right? So I can kind of go back and forth. So let's go ahead and commit this. Go back and see what this is doing. I can see that too. Okay, I have a uncommitted thing there. And then while this is working, these two, I just have a config value where I can hit the button and it will insert something that you can go ahead and configure sort of anything you want to. So it's sort of like a slash command, except you can say, you don't have to sort of hard code something. So this one's run but pull or whatever command, if you have some longer thing that you don't want to type every time and continue or something like that. We have a new branch here, right, that has this new job, whatever. And so I can hit this button and it says sort of land. So this will merge it and push it to main. So I actually don't want to do this right now. Put this job live, but that would be, oh shit, I did it. Oops. Okay, well, and then one more thing that you can do, if I use this little knobby turny thingy, I can change sort of the effort level. So high, max, or turn it down to low, turn it up to high. And this one will change the model. Pretty cool, huh? That is the Creator Micro 2. If you want to find out more about that, check out Micromanager here and say, hey, this is how Scott does it, but this is what I want to do. It took me like a day to do this. Actually, most of the time was figuring out the access codes. You can ask this repository how to do that and build sort of whatever you want to build. So have fun.